and welcome to all our guests. We got some really wonderful guests in the audience, the first time avatars, as we see people walking up on stage, wandering around. It's quite flexible and it's very friendly here in eXp South Africa World, and in particular in this auditorium. To our colleagues and friends, to our big networkers that have arrived from around the world, and to our very own eXp South Africa agents, to my Super 7 management team. They know who they are. We're just giving you a very warm welcome into our world here today. Today we have a very special guest in our eXp South Africa World, and we are so looking forward to this wonderful conversation. Before we do get going, just do remember microphones off if you wouldn't mind. The chat box down the left-hand side, bottom of your screen, you can use for questions, for comments. We love comments coming through in the chat box, so please just type in your comments. Happy to answer those right at the end. And then also, Steve mentioned earlier on, if you do want to do a screen zoom, you can zoom in on the stage, you can zoom in on the screens. Top of your desktop is a screen zoom. Just click on the plus signs up there and it'll take you to the screen that you want to have a look at. Folks, our process for today, we'll be chatting to Jason for around about 30 minutes, continue with about 15 minutes of Q&A if time does allow. We will ask for questions which you can voice in the audience right at the end, and we would appreciate all those questions coming through. It makes it really nice and interactive, and certainly please do make the most of it. Just some announcements and acknowledgements to our team today, Celine Steidi and to Sophie Mashlango. Very happy birthday to the two of you. We always celebrate these personal events, and congratulations to you on your birth date, and all the best wishes to you and your family on your celebratory day. Also in the audience, we're expecting Brent Gove, Jean Fredericks, Barton Smith, Bill Campbell's in the house, and Steve Johnston, who I'd just like to compliment. He ran a Spotlight series, and what a series that has been. So compliments to Steve and all these gents that have contributed to the substantial growth that we've seen here locally in eXp South Africa. Folks, my name's Andrew Thompson. As you can see above my head, I'm the managing broker for eXp South Africa. I've been with eXp for literally 1 year now, and just over 1 year, and what a delightful welcome into such an incredible company. I've had an absolutely wonderful experience, and we do have some accolades to shout about. This past week, we became the 18th largest brokerage in South Africa. And with an agent count in excess of 230 agents, we have just recently overtaken eXp UK to become the 4th largest team in the emerging countries outside of the USA. And well done to our eXp South Africa team. Our agents are listing, our agents are in production, and we are a productive team. We've got a very excited and super excited agent team here locally in South Africa. We're attracting high quality agents, and as we will find out during this session today, a successful agent brings another successful agent. Our goal is to be the top 3 South African brokerages by the end of 2022. And just from an eXp experience point of view, eXp is regarded as the fastest growing real estate company in the world, is now regarded as the largest non-franchised real estate company in the world. And eXp Realty has been growing at 1,000 agents per week. In fact, this last week we grew by some 1,300 agents. We have gone over the mark of 62,000 agents around the world, and this is quite phenomenal. In addition, eXp last year this time was only operational in the USA, in Canada, in UK, and in Australia, and we've added 14 new eXp countries with license in literally 14 months. The outlook and the vision of this company is exploding into the rest of the world, and there's been a gentleman at the helm of eXp Realty. He epitomizes the values of eXp, a business leader of note, has served as a board member with eXp World Holdings and eXp Realty, and he's also our CEO of eXp Realty. Please welcome on stage, Jason Gesing. Hi, Jason.
Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say, and good afternoon to everybody. Isn't this fantastic? You have all these guests. I see Vincent St. Louis is in here, some people I really know and love. Bill Campbell, classic, great example. Do you want to sit for this, or would you like to just stand up here? Do you think what works best?
Listen, I'm happy standing up and just having an informal chat. If you're okay with that, I'll move a little bit away from you. But yeah, just what a wonderful audience here representing across the world. We got people in Pacific time, in Eastern time, in Africa time, and certainly wonderful to have all these people here with us. I loved your somersault, Jason. But just to kick off, tell us a bit about Jason Gesing.
Well, sometimes this has been so exciting, Andrew, that I feel like my life began 12 years ago, and I don't remember anything that happened prior to. But a lot did. So I was born in Boston, Massachusetts. Was raised by my mother. Only never met my dad. He just was kind of at the time that I was born, which it really informed some things with respect to eXp, which is why I mention it. But so growing up with just mom, right, there was always this sense that you had to be a contributor to the family as much as you could and be a source of support, which, there was some pressure there in that respect, but it also, I think, groomed me in a way where all I really know how to do or want to do is work. And I've just been working in different jobs throughout my entire life. When I was 15, I was on the back of a sanitation truck. I've worked on asphalt crews, construction crews. I've been a lawyer for the better part of 10 years. I guess I've been a member of the Bar Association here in Massachusetts now for, oh my goodness, it'll be 20 years next year. And I did not enjoy the practice of law, Andrew. And really, a part of it was that it was so isolating. I would go into the office every single day, and I would bill people obscene amounts of money. And in return, they didn't want to talk to me because I was billing them this money. And as I looked around, there were all of these costs associated with the practice. You had these office buildings with spaces, and you had different locations, and you had staff in different locations doing the same thing. And as a result, you had young attorneys who were spending, 2,300 hours a year billing, which meant they were spending probably 4,000 hours a year at the office, which meant that there was no balance whatsoever. And a lot of it was because you had to feed this machine that really had become obsolete insofar as clients weren't coming into the office. So fast forward, when I was admitted to the bar, I also obtained my managing broker credential. So that was in 2002. So I've been a broker for 20 years next year as well. Always loved the business. And so I started my own independent brokerage at the same time that I was practicing law. We got up to about 17 agents, but it became clear to me that I wasn't going to be able to keep growing that. At some point, something had to give. But it was a great way for me to divert my attention away from what it was that was making me unhappy. And then probably about 2009, I joined a company called realestate.com, which at the time was owned by Lending Tree, big public company. And they were the first company really to put together the warm telephone transfer combined with the online leads. So they would warm it up, and that was very expensive for them. They ultimately went out of business in the course of figuring it out. But it was great for me, and I made some terrific relationships. One of those relationships was the regional manager for that company, who was giving a presentation one day online, and the person immediately preceding him was Glenn Sanford. And so through my friend, I managed to learn about eXp indirectly. And the next thing I know, Andrew, I was in an environment just like this one for the first time, feeling very awkward and uncomfortable, doubting very much that I would ever spend very much time in here at all. Thought it was novel, thought it was cute, but didn't think it was me. And what I've discovered over the last 12 years is not only is it me, but it's done a couple of things in addition to everything else. First is, having been raised by my mother, I never wanted to be an absentee father. I used to spend 3 hours a day driving in traffic to and from an office. And when my children were younger, that meant necessarily I was not going to see them for consecutive days in a row during the week because they went to bed at like 5 p.m. Not 5, but they go to bed early. So that wasn't really a sustainable situation for me. And then in addition, what I've discovered about this place, and I say this in particular to the guests or to those agents who have not spent a lot of time in here, I did a backflip. We have soccer games, football games rather. We've got speedboats. We've got all sorts of things that happen in here, birthday parties, celebrations for the birth of children, diversity celebrations. everything that you would do in an office, we do here, except, now I can interact, Andrew, with you on any given day. I can interact with anybody that's in the audience here and feel like I'm just like I'm in the room. And so for somebody that doesn't like isolation, and really that's why I left, I want to talk to people. I want to be around people. And this space, incredibly to me, still 12 years later, has allowed me to do that. So that's how I ended up at eXp, Andrew, and I've held a number of roles here at the company since. I was general counsel at one point. I always like to say that we had 40 agents and 0 lawsuits. So, but of course, I've been the president of Global at one point back in 2016. I've been on the board, as you noted, and this is my second time in this role, the first being 2016 to 2018, and it's just been a great joy. So I hope that wasn't too long.
No, that was perfect, Jason. I found out a whole lot about you in that very quick overview of your history, etc. I certainly couldn't picture you as a legal practitioner, the type of person that you are in relationships and with people. Was the people aspect a very big draw card into the real estate business?
Absolutely. I mean, people here are helping people. I mean, in the law, you would help people, but rarely would they thank you. And they're always calling you when they have a problem. And what I love about this business, first of all, I love the energy of agents. People who are in this business like being around other people. They're high energy people for the most part. They're positive people. I've never met a group of more positive minded, positive thinking people, glass half full people. It's incredible. And I can tell you that stands in stark contrast to the law, right? Where all you're doing in the law is trying to find problems. You're looking to spot issues. You're looking to get involved in disputes, and that's just a whole different experience. And I'm not knocking the law. It's just that it wasn't for me. So the people part was a very, very big draw for me to the business. Yes.
Jason, I mean, thinking back to 2013, and eXp must have been a rather small company at that particular time. I remember talking about 2015. I think there were only 446 agents in the company at that particular time, and it must have been quite daunting at that time, joining a smallish company and making big decisions to transfer from where you were at the time. But back then, how many agents were there in actual fact? And talk us through the growth and how you've gone about it.
So I actually started in January 2010. So about 3 years before 13. And, I will say, when I met Glenn and when I understood the model, and because of my life at the time, not seeing my kids, knowing I was spending too much time doing something because of office space and redundant staffing. I mean, when I met Glenn, the model resonated with me from the very beginning because it addressed the pain points. I was living in a different industry, albeit a service industry. And I really do believe, by the way, that we will have an impact on service industries well outside of property at some point by applying the same principles and the same approach to the business and the same approach to building community. So when I joined, my original agent number was 60, but of course that's a gross number. So that means there had been 59 people before me who had signed up in some form or fashion. I know that all of them were west of Texas at the time. I was here in the East. I think the actual number of agents that were still with us, in other words, when you take attrition into account, was probably closer to 30. And a lot of them were holdovers from Buyer Tours Realty, which was Glenn's team that he ran before. So early on, I mean, it was really hard, but I think I was really supported by my belief that this just made too much sense, that if we had good people, it would succeed, and it would succeed wildly, and that it might take some time, but there was no doubt in my mind. And I've never wavered on that. But so your point in your opening, Andrew, about getting the right people, so important, because we're building a community here, and if you don't get the right people, it can really be impactful. But it was hard. I mean, it was hard. You really had to get knocked down, told no, probably 500 times before anybody said yes to even a conversation. And then when you tried to explain to them, my goodness, you try to explain to them how you operate and avatars, and they look at you like you were crazy. And maybe we were, but I think that, and I said this morning, as you know, in the training session we had, I mean, the fact that we were so different was very, very galvanizing for all of us. And it made us really excited. I mean, we would get together on the Friday leadership meeting, 30 of us, and we'd be jumping around for joy because we thought this was the coolest thing. And we all knew that we were going to be able to have an impact on people's lives once they recognized what this was all about. And one of the first people to come and recognize what this was about was a gentleman named Tom Somerville in North Carolina, Marion Stafford, his business partner. They were Remax franchisees for 16 years, Hall of Famers. They came over. David Gagnon, who just got married over the weekend inside of this environment, proud to be part of the wedding. He was another one that joined us in 2014. And then, of course, Gene, I don't know if Gene's made it in, but Gene Frederick, my dear friend, I spent about every day for 6 months either visiting with or talking with Gene Frederick from November 14th of 2014 to April 23rd of 2015, when he announced in Tempe at our very first shareholder meeting that he was joining us. And, Gene certainly was a catalyst for growth, to say the least. But he really, for me, solidified the type of person that we wanted in the company. So, right, somebody who believed in the idea that agents should be owners of the company, that they should receive public equity if there's public equity to be had, and that it shouldn't be shared among institutional investors and just people in management or the founder. That this should be a company that's owned by the agents. And he really understood that and appreciated that. And in addition, I mean, if you know Gene, all he wants to do is help. He wants to help other people build their business. He loves to teach. He loves to coach. He loves to train. He loves to mentor. And so he became, for me, really almost an emblem of the type of person we were trying to attract to the company. So we ended 2015. You mentioned we started the year with 447, I think you said. We wrapped up the year with 864. So that was 100% growth for us. And keep in mind, for 2010, when I joined, up until that time, we were hovering, well, I'd say up until 2013, we were hovering around 200 agents. I mean, we would add as many in a month as we lost. Just sort of kind of going steady as she goes. And the caliber of agent was a little bit different back then too. But we finished 2015 with 864. 2016, we hit 1,000 agents on Leap Day of 2016. And we just kept going ever since. I think we finished that year with 2,401 and 6,500 the next year, then 14,000 the year after that. And then I sort of lost track. So I started to age. But yeah, people ask me, what's my favorite thing about eXp? And honestly, it has been the journey. And I will tell people, everybody here, I'm fairly transparent about this, making the jump from the law with salary, with healthcare benefits, with steady income that I could depend on to pay bills and maybe do just a little bit more. Making that transition out of that into something that was completely unpaid. I mean, I didn't take a paid position in this company until 2015 or something. It was a true startup. Everybody wanted to bring to the table what it is that they knew and that they could lend to the effort. And so the favorite thing for me has just been the journey and sort of watching how it's transformed. And sometimes you don't take the time to stop and think just how amazing it is what's happening right every single day. I mean, you're sitting, I'm listening to you, Andrew, and you're talking about us being the largest and fastest growing brokerage in the world. And I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, what's going on at that company? And here I am, I'm living it, right? And arguably I have some involvement in it. And it's just, but the agents have driven it. The agents have made it happen. The agents need to be owners in this business. And at eXp, they always will be. And so we invented agent ownership, and it's here to stay, and it's here to flourish. And as people in the room may or may not know, we just issued our first dividend on the 31st of August. So an opportunity for our agents both to retain the shares that they've earned by doing things that they're going to do anyway, closing their first transaction of the year, capping, helping the company grow. Maybe they're an icon agent, right? They're going to earn money if they, but it's great to create a culture of a dividend culture where people want to continue to be shareholders, because when they want to be owners and they are owners, they look at things completely differently. They try to figure out how to solve problems rather than run from them. It's almost like the difference between fight or flight, right? When you're personally invested, when it's your company, you look at things differently and you make different levels of contribution. And we've been flying ever since because of that.
Yeah, that's a fantastic story, Jason. Often in our agent attractions, we talk about our business where the agents are the kings and queens of our business, the real decision makers, and ultimately the shareholders within eXp. So it's an absolutely phenomenal story. And I just wanted to ask you, I mean, you've overseen eXp Realty now for many years. It must have been a big decision to move into Canada, UK, and Australia a few years back. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that certainly has been interesting. And in fact, the year plus that I took off from this role, I went into global. right? And I sort of made the decision that we were going to go into the UK. I made the decision we were going to go into Australia. Um, uh, the one thing I did want to say, if I can just jump back for 1 second, because I didn't finish the thought, but making that transition was incredibly difficult financially for me and for my wife. She was watching the kids at the time. We actually had to apply for public assistance at one point. We were denied because we didn't have we happened to have a second car from like 2001 or something with no door handle on the driver's side. But so the point of sharing this is, I know for people who are with us now, I know for people who are thinking about joining us, and I know for people in other markets. I mean, look at the UK where they get a stipend, and that stipend is just enough to pay the bills and keep you in the firm. But when the commission comes in, it comes into the house, and maybe the estate agent gets 5%. So I know firsthand what a sacrifice it can be to make a transition like this. And so kudos to all of you who have. The decision to go into the Australia and the UK really was premised upon leadership. I really wanted to go where we thought we had great leadership, and the UK is a perfect example of this. I mean, if you look at that and just sort of thinking about what I said a second ago, the comp model is so different over there that it's really hard for people to break away. The sales cycle is about 4 to 6 months, so I mean, you really got to have some money stored up. So it was completely different, and people would say, "Well, why in the world would you go into the UK where the business is so different? They're not going to identify with or resonate with the model, or with self-employment." But a couple of things had happened. One was that Purple Bricks had gone into the UK and had done quite well, actually. I think they had gotten up to about 600 agents or so, if I've got that number right. And on a self-employed basis, that was sort of precedent setting. And so we knew that somebody had at least paved the path, opened up the mind to the possibility. But then Adam came along, and Adam had been a change agent in the UK and in property in the UK for a number of years. He had started his own virtual brokerage, self-employed agency, really was sort of tech forward and tech centric. And he was up for the challenge, and he was hungry. He was at a place in his life where he knew he could do something big, and he wanted to. And but that was an introduction by Barry Pulver, one of our agents in North Carolina who has British roots. And so that was the basis of the decision back then. And I've always believed, and if I look at sort of the last 12 years and where we've done well in the U.S., the markets where we've done well have been the markets where we've had great leadership on the ground. South Africa is no exception. And I will say, the last time I checked, the number was below 200, and I think I checked like a week ago. So I don't know what happened, but I'm looking at 235 this morning, fourth largest global market. I mean, guys, have you grown like 3% in the last like 20 days or something? I mean, it does seem like it's catapulted here all of a sudden. And I know you went through a lot of frustration, a lot of challenge. At the beginning in particular, Andrew, and your patience was incredible. And it's just great to see it all coming together and people in production and people enjoying the experience.
Absolutely, Jason. And as you said earlier, it is certainly a journey, and we're looking forward to the journey over the next number of years in terms of extending into the rest of the world. And just talking about extending into the rest of the world, obviously we carry sort of 3 brands under the eXp World Holdings banner, and those are eXp Realty, eXp Global, eXp Commercial. And just thinking about eXp Global in particular, the acquisition of Michael Valdez, Megan Kelly, Ilario Profumi has been quite phenomenal, taking us 14 new countries literally in 14 months. How involved are you in the day-to-day in terms of the progress in that regard? Because we've seen prolific growth taking place around the world.
Yeah, well, I identified Michael. I as if I give myself credit for it. Honestly, I don't. It was serendipitous. We were both invited to be part of a panel at a conference in New York City on global real estate, and this was thanks to an introduction from to a gentleman in India. So we met there. We were on the same panel. I liked what Michael had to say. He was clearly a dynamic guy and clearly had done some amazing things in the industry. And we struck up a conversation after that. And then COVID came along, and intuitively we decided we weren't going to expand anymore globally. I mean, Portugal knows this because we were in process of launching in Portugal, and then we said, okay, we're going to stop. And Michael came and he said, look, you guys are the only country that can expand globally in the middle of a pandemic when nobody else can get on a plane and even go figure out what a market looks like. And so he really pushed on this. And finally, I mean, it made sense. It just made a ton of sense. And given what he's done, and it was clear to me that, back in 2018, that, there were people that were far more qualified than I was to do global. But I mean, Australia and the UK, proved that out for me, that, we needed somebody that really understood how to do this. And Michael's just been extraordinary. My involvement, obviously we do, I meet with people that become our managing broker in markets. I meet with, Catherine Goodwin, who's our training coordinator, but, before they come on, when they come on. So I'm involved in that, but I'm also involved in the launch of markets. We do our pre-launch webinar. From time to time, I'll come back and I'll do other sessions like this one, which I love. Honestly, I'd love to do more of these. I mean, this is just fun. I mean, and this couldn't have come at a better time in the week. I've lost track of your question, Andrew. I'm sorry. I'm just having such a good time. But get me back on.
No worries at all, Jason. Just going on to sort of our business is a lot about family. It's all about community, a community of real estate professionals. And I know Grant Cardone described Glenn Sanford as one of the most caring gentlemen that he's ever met. Tell us a bit about your experience with working with Glenn as founder and CEO of eXp World Holdings.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, he was just Glenn back then, right? I mean, he was a guy that had a team that had done well in the business, and he didn't know he had to figure out how to pivot when the global financial crisis hit. So, I mean, we worked together every day for 6 months, and then he came out here and met with me in person. And it's been a great relationship. I will tell you that there are certain things that come up in the company, certain issues that, they sort of transcend numbers, they transcend financials, they transcend policy, and they're just sort of more about who we are as a company. So, when you have a decision about whether to offer a product to your agents, and the vendor that's offering the product to you says you can mark it up 1,000% if you want to, and the agents can pay that additional money in order to get workers' compensation insurance or something, that's an important issue for the company. It's like a really important decision point for the company, even though it seems kind of like a small thing. But who we are as a company is, we don't want to make money off the backs of our agents like that. We don't ever want to exploit our agents. So we promptly, that's a true story that I just shared, and we promptly kicked the people out of the room during the presentation the moment they told us that. And so there are these fundamental things about our character, and sort of like, take everything else away, and what's left at the core. And I think one of the things that has made Glenn and my relationship so enjoyable, successful, effective, is that we both view those things in the very same way. And I think in terms of skill set, I mean, he's 10 times smarter than I will ever be. He is, I think Grant's on the money. Glenn is always wanting to be a mentor or coach, a source of support for anybody that needs it. That's true today as it was 12 years ago. He's probably the smartest person I know or have been around, and I've been around some really smart people. Sometimes it's like he goes so fast that I think we're not even quite ready for what it is that he wants to do. But he's just a brilliant man and a wonderfully warm-hearted person.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Every time I talk about eXp, to me, it just, from a leadership point of view, there's just this incredible transparency, integrity, and trust in the leadership of eXp. And I've seen that right from the beginning of my experience over a year ago now. And a theme that's really coming through now in our conferences, I think there was a recent Build conference, is making the real estate game fun again through eXp. Just out of interest, how do you go about keeping balance in your life? I mean, you're a busy individual. The real estate game is extremely demanding. You've got all these agents around the world, obviously asking questions, posing queries, etc., etc. How do you create that balance in your life?
It's tough, I mean, particularly on sort of the inbound communications has been a real struggle for me. And it's one of the things I prided myself on, all the time, which is getting back to everybody quickly. Right. And then, now, not even just so much because of the volume, but because of the multitude of channels. I mean, you can get an instant message here in World, you can get it, on Workplace, you can get it on Google Meet, you can get it on your text, on your cell phone, you can get it through apps like Voxer and WhatsApp. There's so many different channels that I've got some work to do there in order to get to a place where things are getting responded to as quickly as I want them to be. So that can be hard. But the balance, I guess, I love what I do, right, Andrew? So it's like this doesn't feel like work at all right now. I mean, this I'm emotional about it. I mean, I'm sitting with people that are in South Africa, and there's 98 people in this room, and it's just incredible. Yeah. So
Yeah, 100%, Jason. And a question, and just moving down, we're going to start getting to the end of this now, just in terms of summarizing, etc. But Jason, just part of the reason I joined eXp is the company's vision and its agility combined with amazing innovation and an innovative team amongst, from a technology point of view, from a disruptive technology point of view. Just your feeling, how do you see the future of real estate?
Well, I think there'll always be that emphasis on technology, and not necessarily so much for the sake of technology, but like what can we do to empower our agents? Because I think one of the things that we've always prided ourselves on is that back in 2010, everybody here at least was going to conferences for 2 days, and they were writing down as much as they could about online lead generation and follow-up practices and how to use Twitter, how to use Facebook. How to generate leads with it. And they would write it all down because they want to be that next generation agent. And then the second day would end. And the first thing that happens, this is what I would do. I go right to the bar and grab myself a drink, and like steam starts coming out of their head. So we've always tried to be different than that. We've always, in the training session I know that we met on earlier today, I mean, always trying to be a steady diet of education, of training, of professional development opportunities, product offerings that are going to keep our agents ahead of the evolutionary curve in the industry. Because whatever market you're in, the industry is changing. It may change at a different pace depending on the market you're in, but it is changing. And I think there's a universal recognition of that, even now among agents that are as traditional as they come. They see that if I want to stay in the business, with very few exceptions, I may be in a tourist market where people are still walking into the office off the street, but with few exceptions, I think people understand and recognize that even if it causes them some initial discomfort, they've got to make the change if they want to stay in the business and remain relevant. So we've always tried to stay true to that, and we will continue to. But what's really exciting about the global growth, Andrew, is I think about this, and this is something that I've been excited about for years. We talk about this for years. You think about the world today, and this country certainly has not led. I mean, the dialogue is just so toxic on things, and people like to find ways in which to put others down, whether that's differences in religion, differences in dress, differences in ethnicity, whatever it might be. And what I love about this company and what I love about this environment is that every single day we get people in here from South Africa, from Portugal, people who are speaking Brazilian Portuguese, Portuguese. We got people from Northern Ireland. We got people in Mexico speaking Spanish. We got almost 1,000 agents in India now. And they come in, and the culture is completely different where they're from. The business is completely different where they're from. They're different socioeconomically, religiously, racially, and all of these things that would otherwise drive wedges between people become great forces for unification in this company, because we can send everybody with all that diversity of background, both personal and professional. You send them into one location, eXp World, and you tell them, you're an owner. This is your company. And with that comes great opportunity, but also great responsibility. And now all of a sudden the story, I believe, 5 years from now about eXp, as much as anything else, is going to be how we built this global thriving community whose members have a mutual respect for each other's differences, and what those differences can mean in building a company and building a business. That is the true story and the essence of what we're doing.
Thanks very much, Jason. Yeah, we've been having discussions with Fee Gentry, with Joan Alvarez, Melanie and the team. And certainly, we also, from a South African point of view, we want to create a community of agents in the most diverse and all-inclusive type of approach. And there's such a transformational type of approach that we can take in South Africa in terms of transforming the industry, making it useful, making it fun, and really changing real estate from a South African perspective. Just one or two more questions, and before we go into Q&A, just some really good advice, maybe just one piece of advice that you can give an agent from a growth perspective. What would your recommendation be?
Yeah, first, I guess my recommendation would be don't give people too much too soon. Make sure you're listening enough. Find the natural intersections where you're going to come across other agents more than you pick up the phone and cold call somebody and say, hey, would you like to join eXp, right? That's less likely to get you somewhere than a relationship that is authentic and is built upon a co-broker relationship where somebody maybe represented the buyer on one of your listings. There's all these natural intersection points with people in the industry. And at the same time, I'd say, think about your networks outside of South Africa, right? I mean, you may have relatives, you may have people who have migrated to the United Kingdom or the United States, whatever it might be. Think about those networks, because this is the one place where you can really build a global team, a global organization, and a global network across borders. Andrew, I do have to say, I do have to hold to the 45 past the hour on my end, so I would love to take some questions if we can.
All right, just my last question: when you're coming to Africa, Jason?
Well, let's make that something for 2022 at the latest. I mean, I think 2021. There's just so much uncertainty still about everything. But I can't get there soon enough. I understand it to be a beautiful country, and every single person I've met with who's come over from South Africa or who I've otherwise met from the country has just been a wonderful person. So I'm really excited to do that. And when I get over there, I want to help people grow. So and I don't have to wait to help you grow either. Reach out to me if I can be helpful in a conversation. If for some reason you think I would be well suited to it, if there's a question that you can't seem to find the answer to from anybody, we're all learning this together, and I'm here to help.
Jason, fantastic. Thank you very much for your insights. And let's go straight to the floor in terms of any questions. Please voice those questions, or you can shoot them out on the chat box. Very much up to you, but I'm sure there are going to be a few questions. Maybe start with Steve Johnston. Go for it.
Thank you, Andrew. Jason, thank you so much for your time today. I must say that when I was researching eXp, you were one of the voices that swung me to join, because I think you communicate so clearly. There is a genuine humility in your way. Even your story about the car door handle today. I think more of us relate to that than are willing to admit. But thank you. And so Jason, as you look out into the stage, the crowd, you're going to see a lot of green names because we worked really hard to get a lot of guests here today. Because I believe in how you represent the company so well. So what would you say to many of these agents in the room who are still with other agencies, thinking about eXp, looking at eXp as an opportunity? What would your message to them be?
Great question. I would say the first thing you hear about eXp probably isn't true, particularly if you're hearing it from somebody who's not with the company, right? Because we have our competition, and they'll try to say things, oh, it's just a company that tries to bring in other agents. They're not really, serious about the business. Baloney. It's hogwash. If you look at our filings over the last many quarters, you will see, in addition to the GAAP profitability, you will see that our rate of revenue growth has well exceeded our rate of agent count growth. And our rate of agent count growth has been great, which means to me that we're getting the icons, we're getting the people that are capping. This is a place that really draws the very best in the business. And I would be happy to give examples to anybody here in green. I'd be happy to meet with anybody here in green and just sort of explain and give some examples of that. But this is a place where I think if you want to remain relevant in the future of the industry, if you want to open up new business opportunities for yourself, what do I mean by that? Well, if you want to get into commercial, right? Or if you want to get into a different part of the country, but you can't because you're not physically there and your office isn't physically there, or you're not qualified to for whatever reason because you're dependent upon that physical location. This is the chance to really diversify your business. And talk to Bill Campbell, right? Talk to Brent Gove, talk to Vincent. I mean, these people are living it. They are seeing the model in action, and in addition to their commissions on sales for their very successful business, just by leveraging the credibility and the respect that they've built up and the relationships that they naturally have, We have people in this company today, and I'm using US dollars here, in addition to their commissions on sales, are making thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars monthly in addition to their commissions on sales. And we got a couple of folks that are getting close to 7 figures monthly. This isn't in substitution of production. This is in addition. And really, you're not trying to sell anybody. Remember, you're trying to show somebody an opportunity. If they don't want to see it right at that particular moment or learn more about it, that's okay. Right? At some point, the door will be open, and that's the moment when they'll be ready. But I would just say, we're here to help. And I think that there's a great future in the industry for agents. Agents are going to remain a part of the business or remain a part of the industry. They're going to remain relevant, no matter what tech comes into place. I really do believe that. We've got data. We conducted a survey earlier in the year that verified this, that even those youngest consumers, they really believe 2 things. 1, that it's really important to have an agent as part of the process. And 2, you want that agent to have some tech aptitude. You want them to be tech adept, tech enabled, tech empowered. And this is based on a third-party survey that we co-sponsored with the Center for Generational Kinetics with Jason Dorsey. 2,000 people, really representative across generations. And those are the 2 major takeaways for me. People want agents, want those agents to know, to be ahead of the evolutionary curve. I think it's a great place to satisfy those criteria.
Jason, thanks very much for that answer. And any more questions? I think we got a 2-minute time check. So a quick question, one last question to Jason, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Jason, I just want to say thank you so much for all your effort and making it a reality to bring it into South Africa. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure everybody sitting in this room, we're up to 102 just now, feel exactly the same way. After all our meetings and get together, I really do appreciate it. Thank you, Jason.
Bill, you made it happen, my friend. You made it happen. I think I've told you before, I will always remember the conversation that we had inside of my office just shortly after we launched. And I think the world of you. And yeah, let's go together. Let's plan that trip.
Quite a funny story the other day, Jason, just to wrap up. We had an inquiry in the join application, and the person had a brief argument with us because he promised that his sponsor was Bill Campbell, not William Campbell. It was the same person. So anyway, just some fun there just to finish off with. Is there time for one more question, Jason, or you got to run?
Yeah, real quick, and then I do have to go. But and I apologize. Ordinarily, I would stay over, but this time I cannot. But I think Greg's got his hand in there.
There we go, Greg. Over to you.
So he may not realize he put his hand up. So no pressure, Greg.
Right, folks, one more question.
Okay, well, Andrew.
Right, Jason, thank you very much indeed from the eXp South Africa team, all our agents, our management team, everyone here from a support point of view, from all our guests in the audience, as Steve mentioned, with the green names above their head. Thank you to them for being our avatars here in our world today. But mostly, thanks very much to you, Jason. Your insights into the real estate industry. It certainly is an honor to be with you on stage and be able to talk with you in conversation in this one-on-one. Thanks very much indeed, Jason Gesing, ladies and gentlemen.
It's an honor to be here, and thank you all for being here. Guests, just incredible, all the green names. Reach out to me directly if you'd like. You have any questions, Jason at expworldholdings.com. I hope we're in touch, and I hope we're in business together real soon. Thank you very much, everybody.